back to my channel. It's Nikisha Bond. We're continuing going through the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. If you're new here, welcome. So excited you decided to join us. And if you're coming back, hey, good to see you. Remember, we're going through these 48 laws because we want to get power for ourselves. Sometimes we want to take it out on other people's, but I'm not judging you if you do. I'm just not recommending that. So most of my things are going to be how we can get positive aspects out of this. So let's go ahead and get started on Law 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. What happens first always appears better and more original than what comes after. If you succeed a great man or have a famous parent, you will have to accomplish double their achievements to outshine them. Do not get lost in their shadow or stuck in a past not of your own making. Establish your own name and identity by changing course. Slay the overbearing father, disparage his legacy, and gain power by shining in your own way. Okay, so you have to remember, this book, we're on page 347. This book has to do with whole courtier courts type thing, the old kings and queens and dukes and duchesses, which still exists today, but I'm just saying that's really what has to do with it. So it has kind of a scarcity mindset because in that world, there really is only one. And maybe in some environments, there is only one. But we're going to take it from more of an abundance mindset, I hope, and see what we can learn by going through these keys to power. Let's get started. The young are easily set against the old, since they yearn to make their own place in the world and resent the shadow of their fathers. Kids are always trying to figure out who they are in this world, and it's hard because your parents are everything to you. You need your parents to survive, so it's hard not to be exactly what they want you to be, but they always yearn for it, right? Never let yourself be seen as following your predecessor's path. If you do, you will never surpass him. You will physically demonstrate your difference by establishing a style and symbolism that sets you apart. So that's what kids are naturally designed to do, is to find a way to set themselves apart. So it's easy to pit the young against the old because the young are like, no, I'm not going to do it this way. I've got a new way. We're going to try it like this and do all this. I know better. I'm young. You're old. You don't know what's happening. But guess what? When you become an old person, you're going to go back to these traditional things. Why? Because some traditional things, they actually work. Imagine that. So a lot of times you'll do all this bucking around when you're young because you're trying to find your own path, only to circle back to the things that your parents taught you because maybe they were right. Maybe they were wrong. I don't know. It's your parents. You take it with a grain of salt. Okay, so let's continue on. The problem with the overbearing predecessor is that he fills the vistas before with symbols of the past. You have no room to create your own name. To deal with this situation, you need to hunt out the vacuum, which are those areas in culture which have been left vacant and which you can become the first and principal figure to shine. So this kind of reminds me of the trad wife movement, right? Because we just got off of being boss babes. We want to do it all on our own. I don't need a man. And now we're trying to embrace these more traditional roles, the soft life. I just want to relax. I want somebody to take care of me. Why? Because there was a void in the conversation, the social conversation, and people jumped in to fill it. And you can see that everywhere. Everywhere where somebody's not talking about something, if you go there and you start talking about that, it instantly becomes attractive because it's probably been on everybody's mind. There's nobody who jumped up to say it. So when you're trying to stand out, maybe you can go find a void in the marketplace, find a void in conversations, and you can be that voice. And by being that voice in a place where that voice doesn't exist, you're the first and you kind of get to paint the vistas. It's a great way to gain power without having to kill anybody. Right? That was really loud. Sorry, I hope that laugh didn't go too loud. Anyways. The superstitious believe that if the person before you succeeded by doing A, B, and C, you can recreate their success by doing the same thing. This cookie cutter approach will seduce the uncreative, for it is easy and it appeals to their timidity and their laziness. Ooh, why this book always got to slap you up the face with something? Anyways, so basically it's just saying that you can't follow somebody's step-by-step guide and think that you're going to get exactly the same results. You're not the same person. You're different. And so you're going to have to take that into consideration when you're getting information. I like to do this when I'm hearing information. Who is this person? Why are they telling me what they're telling me? What is their background? What would make them see the world the way they're seeing it? That way, when I hear their advice, even though they might be saying it as this is a definitive, this is the only way that you can do this, I can step back and say, well, I can see why they would say that. They come from this type of a home, or they have this type of a background, or this type of an upbringing. If you take those things into consideration, then you will realize that the ABC formula doesn't really work, and you can take from it what works. And what does they say? Like chew the meat and spit out the bones. Yes, you can take what works and just discard what doesn't work for you, because there's not going to be a cookie cutter formula for you. And the quicker you can learn that in life, the easier life is going to be, because you won't be thinking that, oh, I failed at this. Well, yeah, maybe that's just not your body type. Maybe that's just not your personality. Maybe that's just not your skill set. And that's okay. Go find what does work for you and do more of that. There you go. I hope that helps. Remember, you are your own father. Do not let yourself spend years creating yourself only to let your guard down and allow the ghost of the past, the father, the habit, history to sneak back in. So it was talking about, if you set out on your own to do your own thing, don't go into the habits of your father. Okay, fair. But I thought that it was more like master your own life and don't fall back into your own habits. See, when you decide to be a different person, when you decide to be someone that you've never been before, one of the easiest things to do is to fall back into our old habits. Why? Because neurons that fire together, wire together. So when you get into the habit of doing something, the hardest thing to do is to break that habit, because you have new neurons that have now formed together to keep you doing that habit without you having to think about it. That's the great thing about how our minds work. And then that's also the hard thing about how our minds work. So to me, it just reminds me, don't fall back into old habits. Make sure that you're constantly reevaluating yourself, that you're working towards being the type of person that you want to be. And that's going to be in the daily habits. The person that you are is really just a summation of the daily habits that you do every single day. Think about that. Just think about it, okay? It could help. Let's get into the reversal of the law. The past often has elements worth appropriating, qualities that would be foolish to reject out of the need to distinguish yourself. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay? Making a display of doing things differently from your predecessors can make you seem childish, in fact, out of control, unless you have actions that have logic of their own. So if you go through, right, the bathwater and you look at everything that's going on in the bathwater and then you say, oh, there's a baby in here. Then you throw out the bathwater and you keep the baby. That's what makes it so that even if you're following after what the people of the past did, you're putting your own spin on it, right? You got rid of the bathwater, going to get some new bathwater, maybe some lavender soap. This metaphor is going way offhand. Let's keep going. Okay. It is often wise to keep an eye on the young, your future rivals in power. Just as you tried to rid yourself of your father, they will soon play the same trick on you, denigrating everything you have accomplished. Just as you rise by rebelling against the past, keep an eye out from those rising below and never give them the chance to do the same to you. That's sad. That's so sad, because guess what? The younger people, even though we were trying to rebel, it's like you're doing it just because nobody is listening to you. So you feel like you have to rebel just to be heard. And what I think is that if the older generation can start making new things for themselves, then they can leave the generation below them with something else to do. If you're always working yourself out of a job so you can go to the next opportunity, that means you're always in a position to rise somebody up behind you and take on something that you've just left. So I really don't think that we should be discarding the young, that we should be fighting against them. I think you really should be in your life, whether you're young or you're old. If you're old, you should be looking at your life and saying, what's the next thing that I can do? How can I give back to the next generation? And if you're young, what can you learn from the older generation? They've done some things, they've gotten somewhere, they can teach you some things. So anyways, let's get into my final thoughts, shall we? My final thoughts. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. I think there's things that we can learn that are traditional things that are really good, and you should take some of those. And then I think there's also something to be said to recreating yourself and trying new things. Maybe that didn't work 10 years ago, but maybe it will work today. So I think you have to find a balance of the both. If you're trying to gain power, yeah, keeping everybody below you and never letting anybody rise to your level is going to give you power. But is that how you want to live your life? Most of the time, people are good. Most of the people that I meet, they're good, and they want to do good things, and they want to impact the world in a positive way. So stepping on tradition or, denigrating your father is not really something that the average person wants to do. So what I think we can learn is that you want to always forge your own path, but make sure that you remember that there are some traditions that are worth bringing into the future. And don't get so caught up on only wanting to forge your own path that you throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's the best advice that I can give you. Okay, so like, subscribe, and make sure that you share this with a friend, because I don't know, just because it would help me. That's all I can say, okay? Anyways. Next time, we're going to get into strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Bam! It's late. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. See you next time.